Hey, welcome back to JG3 Reviews. My name is James, and here we explore the world of fountain pens, inks, and paper, and today it is a pen day. Now, you notice I have two Hongdian pens here in my hand. One of these is going to be reviewed today, and that is this 1862, but stay tuned to the channel because this D1 is coming soon as well. The 1862 is of the Forest series of pens from Hongdian that has proved to be a great series of solid, reliable, well-writing fountain pens. And so I do have high expectations for this pen, so we'll see if it meets them as we look at the pen's design, its function, what I like, what I don't like, and all of that good stuff. Now, full disclosure, these pens were sent to me for review. I will put a link to their store below. I find them to be a good, reliable store, but that does not change what I think, positive, negative, or in between on either of these pens. I will make sure to give you exactly what I think about these pens. All right, let's spin that camera and dive on in. And here we have the Hongdian 1862. Again, this comes from that Black Forest family of pens. You'll see some different details that are similar, and that is generally a very good thing. I'm impressed with how many different variations built on that theme there have been, and each with its own distinctive personality, and I think we see the same thing here. So you have kind of an off-white matte finish. This is a metal pen, and I think that looks quite good. I'm, like many of you, I'm not so much a white pen person. I don't actually think I have a white, I don't think I do. I don't think I have a white pen other than a couple that have been sent for review like this one, but I do think it looks good, and the matte finish on this looks quite good. They have a few different colors. This is the green. There's also a blue, and I think it's brown. I'll put up a picture there because it'll be better than my memory. All of them in somewhat muted tones. All right, so you have at the finial this leaf motif for that inset finial, and that's nice and shiny, and I think that looks kind of cool. And then you come down, and this is where you'll see some of those familiar design items, the shape of the cap and the clip, and that is a chrome clip, but it's nice and sturdy and works well spring-loaded, and I like that. There's not a lot, even though this is blingy, nothing else is. You have just this nice thin trim ring, which actually is two thin trim rings that come together when that snap cap closes, and I think that looks good. And then you have the barrel, which has this kind of a groove and squiggle motif, which reminded me of something immediately. I saw this pen, and it snapped in my head that up in the cupboard is one of my daughter's favorite hot chocolate mugs for during the winter. And it just, even though this is not intentionally to look like the sweater, it really reminded me of that mug. And look at that. That's just almost a perfect pairing together, isn't it? So no surprise if my daughter steals the pen later. It'll make a lot of sense, won't it? And then as we come down past that to the end cap of the barrel, it is just, again, that off-white matte finish. All of this, by the way, really well done, and the finish looks quite good. Now, we do also have on the back of the cap the name Hongdian and 1862. I appreciate those model numbers back there always. And that's it. Just a very simple design. I think the two colors complement each other well. I think it's good. This is an off-white, kind of that warmer tone. It makes it look a little bit better, I think. Then we remove that cap, which posts and posts securely, and you have a nice pen. It is a little bit back-weighted with the cap, but it's comfortable to write with, not bad at all, and I don't think the balance is really detrimental to the pen experience. But unposted, certainly that is just nearly a perfect balance, like most pens of this length, and works really well. The grip is a little bit slender. It tapers down to that bell shape, and I do find it comfortable. The matte finish on here keeps that from being a slippery grip because, again, metal pen, but it does not cause a problem. The matte grip, just like on the Black Forest pen, keeps that in a nice, secure grip, and I think is quite good. No real step down. I mean, there technically is one, but it's not an issue whatsoever. Then we open the pen up, and of course, it's a Hongdian, so what are you going to find? A converter, and that converter is going to be, or cartridge, because it is also cartridge compatible, 3.4 millimeters, which is kind of a Chinese standard size. And there is an O-ring as well. And then, of course, that brings us to the nib. Now, this is the standard number 5 Hongdian fine nib. These do come in interchangeable nib units so that you can have fine, extra fine, and a mini fude nib. And I have had really good experience with these nibs. Now, most of mine are this fine nib, and I really like it. It's just a standard fine nib with a good line, but I find them reliable and to be pretty good writers out of the box. So I'll be interested to see what you think when we do the writing test. Decoration on this nib is some standard scrolling around the outer edges with the Hongdian logo in 1997 and a nice big F for fine, thank you. I am surprised how many pens lately I've had where I have to do research on the internet to find out whether I'm writing with a fine or an extra fine or a medium. It's just crazy. There should always be an indicator on the nib. I'm looking at you, about half a dozen makers here lately. For our size comparison today, we have, of course, the 1862 from Hongdian, and then we have the Hongdian Black Forest, that first pen of theirs that really caught fire on the pen market. And you can see that there is an actual real size difference. I would say this actually compares more to the Hongdian Black Forest Max in size, another number 6 nibbed Hongdian pen. But you can see there kind of the size difference, very similar in length, but the diameter is where the differences are. Then you have the Platinum Prefante, which of course is also the same size as a Platinum Preppy, and then the ubiquitous Lamy All-Star, same size of course as a Safari if you have that instead. So as you can see, kind of in a very competitive spot size-wise. And here are the pens in their posted length, and it's amazing how pens that were all about the same size just suddenly got a lot different, isn't it? So this posts a lot more deeply than the original Black Forest pen, and that's because this has kind of a smaller posting depth stop there because of the design of the pen where this posts more deeply. So if you thought this one was a little too long for you and maybe made it a little bit back heavy, well, then this pen would actually be better fit for you. About the same as the Platinum Prefante. Of course, metal versus very light plastic, very different feel between those two pens. And then the Lamy All-Star / Safari, definitely taking the win on the posted length today. And now looking at the unposted lengths really changes the dynamic here, doesn't it? So this is then the shortest pen. Coming in next is that Hongdian Black Forest, which was the second longest pen posted, now is the second shortest unposted, and then the Prefante and the All-Star. This is why I show all three lengths, because one does not inform you about the other. Pens change dramatically when you take the cap off and when you post it, if they're postable and all of that. And it really makes a big difference in the dynamics of the pen. Writing today is on rhodia-lined paper. This is a fine nib. Try that for wetness. Ink today is diamine. And this is green-black. And I like this ink, as it kind of matches my desk mat there, just a little bit darker, isn't it? Not too bad a pairing there, accidentally. Oops, a little bit of a skip there. I haven't had problems with hard starts or anything like that. I think that's probably because I just had the cap off for a long time while doing the size comparison and setting up for that. Okay, let's do our speed test right quick. Again, this is always in real time. All right, and since I had, that little skip, I kind of expected something here. A little bit of dryness just right there. Overall, did fine, just a little bit right there. So, maybe writes just, it doesn't look like it from there. This could be the ink, it could be the pen. Maybe just a touch dryness. I think that would probably be fixed pretty simply by doing a little bit of tuning. Let's just see. No, still just a little bit. So I'm having a little bit, and I don't know if I'm circling that, not covering it. If that's me or the pen or the ink. I did have the cap off for a long time. I've written with the pen quite a bit and not really had any issues. But, if you're going to have them, you're going to have them on camera, right? That's just kind of the way that goes. All right. Pros and cons. What do I think about this pen? Well, I think this is going to go pretty quickly. I like the pen. It's well balanced. It writes well. It's solid. And I think the design is good. This is not the design that I would choose of this pen in terms of the color and the barrel for myself. But I have friends and family for whom this would be just the right pen. Like, I already know whose stocking this is going in at Christmas time because they will absolutely love this pen. So I can't really call that a con. I would just say, different strokes for different folks. But the pen itself, the mechanics of the pen, I like. The balance of the pen, the writing of the pen, the feel of it, it's all good. And I think that Hongdian has, just once again, they know their formula well. They've put out a good value proposition for a solid performance and a solid pen that I think works quite well. That's my thoughts. What are your thoughts? Which color would you choose if you were buying one of these? What ink would you pair with this green one? Because, when I put this in somebody's stocking, maybe you'll give me an idea of the ink to go with it. And with that, God bless you. Have a great week and enjoy your pens.